All righty. Look at that. No countdown. You get two of the most beautiful human beings here at Stochastic. It is your old pal, EMac, coming to you with your older pal, Neil, the real deal, Orfield. What's going on, Neil? I'm going to adjust the background here because we have a nice generic one, and I want to give our sponsor a shout out here. So let me go figure out how to do that.
All right. I bet you can figure it out. I love that you are producing these shows. All I have to do is be the analyst. You're the producer.
Yeah, we're going to, on our production meeting, you're going to produce the next ones and I'll host them. Me doing this once a week is like not good.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to produce going forward. But as long as you're doing it, might as well just let you do it. Yeah, today was honestly going horribly for me until the Giants finally did turn it around. I like Daniel Jones quite a bit this week. I like the Giant stacks, and they're still not like crushing it, but certainly helped me that he's turned it around, thrown some touchdowns, got that 300-yard bonus. Suddenly I'm not losing, all of my money. So things have turned around for me a lot in the second half of these afternoon games. Can't complain. Yeah, overall, not my best day. Didn't have enough Puka Nacua. I did play some Kyron Williams, but didn't like jam him. Maybe it looks like I probably should have jammed him. I didn't think he was actually going to come in at 2% ownership. I figured people are going to have 3 hours to adjust to the news after we got the Cam Akers news, but people did not adjust. So could have had a better day, could have had a worse day. How did your day go?
Oh, it was almost 40% Houston Texans defense. That -1 on FanDuel. That's not good. 55% Devontae Adams. That's also not good. He got a touchdown, but he also got hurt. 50% David Montgomery. That didn't go so well. I've got 43% Christian McCaffrey. If he gets another touchdown, I'll be good. I'll claw back some of my money. 45% Higbee. Yeah. I made some stands today. Not proud of it.
I played a ton of Jahan Dotson, who last I checked had not really. He had like 3 catches in the first quarter and has not done anything since. The idea was that Terry McLaurin was going to get shadow coverage from Patrick Surtain too, and it did not seem like that has actually been the case. So yeah, have not gotten a lot out of Jahan Dotson last I checked. One of my bigger stands, sadly.
Yeah, I can't bitch. I made like $1,000 in week 1. I'm on pace to lose about $200 today.
All right.
Yeah, you know what? We'll take that. It happens. It happens.
We'll take that.
It's better to start off with a good week 1. It's been a couple years since I had that. So I'm like, I can make a few mistakes here and there. Working on the Sims tool and trying out FanDuel as my new NFL site of choice and dabbling on Yahoo still. So it's a few things here or there. Let's see. So for those of you that are worried we're not going to talk about football, we're going to talk about plenty of football. We actually do not kick off. We don't have kickoff for another 62 minutes. We came in here a little early because, we want to have some fun. We know we'll start collecting people. We got about 350 watching now. Hit that like button on the way in. That does help us out. But as these fourth quarter games kind of wind down, we'll start collecting some people that are coming in and saying, oh, yeah, we got to get ready for Showdown. So we don't want to have to repeat too much stuff, but we will because we're good. We're good people here. But a couple key things. The Stochastic Avatar contest, if I'm going to drop that link there in chat, it has all of the rules. So that is very helpful. So what are the rules? Well, you go to stochastic.com/avatar, download the Stochastic Avatar. Oops, I shouldn't hide chat, then I can't see it. You download that Stochastic Avatar, and then you upload that to your DFS site of choice. Finish top 3 in a contest with over 5,000 people. That's first, second, or third, but you really do got to finish first, second, or third. 50-way tie for first for a showdown, that doesn't count. You need to be first, second, or third. Contest of over 5,000 people. Tweet the screenshot with that Stochastic Avatar visible to Stochastic HOF on X. Now the Twitter, formerly Twitter. So check that out. You can win a free month of Stochastic Platinum. When you do that, you will get a $200 value. You basically get $200 to go pick whichever the Stochastic packages that you would like. So essentially 1 month free. But check that out. It's a good way to get in there. Again, hit that like button. And remember on our podcasts, Laffy and Greg are doing a couple podcast-only podcasts, I guess would be the word of what they
that
are
would
for.
be the word.
Not actual YouTube shows, but they are breaking down a couple different things there. One of the ones they feature is the afternoon slates for NFL, but it's free. You just have to be subscribed to the podcast.
I think Lofty does one with Ben Rossa on Wednesdays also, maybe earlier in the week. I was initially supposed to do one with Lofty, and then the timing didn't work out for us to do it. And I offered to come in and do it on my off day, but Greg took it over for me. So I'm not doing any of those podcasts. But yeah, I think Lofty does one with Rossa, does one with Greg. A lot of good stuff on that podcast channel.
Excellent. But let's come on in here, huddle up, everybody. We've got our inactives, so this is actually important. So nothing really surprising for the Dolphins. However, Patriots, we've got some movement here. So they're dealing with a lot of injuries on their offensive line, right? Two of their starters didn't play in week one. Both their guards got hurt last week. Their center got hurt. So Saidi Sow is not playing. He's one of the key people. Trent Brown not playing. He's their left tackle. That's important. The other guys will be available. Not really a surprise, but I did not think Devontae Parker would play. But I guess, when you got revenge in your heart, it gets you to stand up off that injury table and take a shot. Booze only, right? Nobody puts anything other than booze into their body via shots. But he is active, which has a trickle-down effect of, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Butte, was their rookie receiver. He is inactive. Yeah. However, it sounds like, per Patriots Twitter, that Jalen Reagor is going to be active today. I hadn't realized he was with their team. Last I thought he was languishing somewhere up north.
Yeah, he was. He was with the Vikings. He got cut by the Vikings. To be honest, I didn't realize that he had joined the Patriots either. So good for him, I guess, kicking around the league still. I think my worst ever fantasy football trade in my keeper league, the year that he was a rookie, T. Higgins was also a rookie, and I read some glowing reports of Jalen Reagor, and I offered my friend T. Higgins and Daniel Jones for Jalen Reagor. He took the deal, and I've been hurting ever since.
That's pain and suffering. Pain and suffering. But I see we have an ownership or a projections update here. I want to see what we are doing here with Reagor. I don't think we're even really projecting him. It's unlikely he's going to do much. But let's look at Devontae Parker. We have Devontae Parker in for 6.5 DK points. So that's good, but it's going to cause a whole trickle-down effect. So we're going to kind of talk about this. I don't think there were any other dramatic injuries. Oh, does that mean A-Chain is out?
No, A-Chain is in.
So A-Chain is in. So he is now in. So he's the rookie. Sore shoulder last week, didn't play. You had Savon Ahmed, who used to be the backup at the University of Washington for Myles Gaskin, was the backup in Miami to Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin no longer on the team. All of a sudden, Ahmed's the guy that gets the win here. It's Raheem Mostert, who was the lead back. David Wilson Jr., Jeff Wilson Jr.? One of the Wilson Jr.'s
Jeff Wilson
perpetually hurt. He's on the injured list. He won't be back until week 5 at the earliest. So you ended up with Ahmed getting the snaps. Now, Ahmed's at a reasonable price. A-Chain, not really at a reasonable price. Going to create some differentiation there. A-Chain was getting a lot of buzz, or is that helium? Are the kids still calling that helium in the best ball worlds? Is it steam? I forget.
Steam. I've never heard
3 years
helium.
ago, and steam is this
steam
year.
Steam is the thing. I've never heard of helium.
Well, it was before you were in the best ball streets. You weren't hearing that drum beat. I know you listened to that. You know what that is. That was this year, one of this year's buzzwords too. So.
Do you just watch a lot of Pete Overzet? Like what channel are you watching where you're getting all these buzzwords?
Overzet and Spags.
Okay, yeah. Those guys have all the buzzwords.
So splash play, of course. So
good stuff.
But yeah, so we don't really know what to expect. So let's kind of wander back here. We'll start with the visiting team here, Neil. We'll kind of go by position for the teams. I'm going to call out what we saw for week 1. And then we've got, again, plenty of time. We're 56 minutes away from kickoff. So we'll have time to do some breakdown, some strategy, talk about some of the tools, etc. here. But reminder, for those of you that have not yet signed up, you can sign up to Owner's Box. and you can get a $500 deposit match, which is pretty cool, with your first deposit. And if you need to put in $10 to get this, but as soon as you sign up through our link, and I'm going to drop that into the YouTube chat right now, it's also in the description here below us. I'm sending you to the Stochastic promo page here for Owner's Box. We have promo pages for everything, or every site that we have promotions with, be it DFS or sports wagering. So you guys can always find that, but I'm dropping that in there so you can see all the little pertinent details, because there's a lot of them here. You need to put in $10. When you put in that $10, one, they're going to match it. They'll match that up to $500. That's going to be in site credit. That's going to come back as Owner's Bucks. That's a 4% drip. Wow. Gee, it's going to take me a little while to play through it. Yeah, it will. But guess what? You don't get that at the other sites. You know what you do get here? Immediately, you get a $1 $5 lightning lineup ticket and another $5 contest ticket as well. Okay, that's pretty fair. That's pretty good. Oh, and you get a week of Stochastic Sims. That's a $59.99 value. That is the NFL full suite Sims package. So you're going to want to check that out. Again, Owner's Box, go through the link here. Oodles and gobs of overlay the last 2 weeks. Okay, Neil, no weather that we have to worry about here. We've got Tua Tagovailoa, looked pretty good in that last game, threw for almost 1 million yards, I think.
That was man, he broke the slate wide open. It was unfortunate that I was kind of like, that was a chalk game.
Yeah, 466 yards.
And how many touchdowns?
I did not write that down, but I believe it was 3. That was his second best effort. Previously was week 2 last year in Baltimore, that wild game when he had 469 yards and 6 touchdowns.
What do you think? Is Tyreek Hill going to get to 2,000 receiving yards this year?
I would think Justin Jefferson has a better chance.
Yes, love that. Love that take. We're on the same page, EMac. You can call me old all you want.
Yeah, because Jefferson, everybody knows he's like the best. But when you start calling for this, then other teams start marking. Like these guys are getting paid gazillions of dollars. It's not like they need any additional motivation. But it's like, hey, jerk, not against us. I mean, unless you're Jamal Lewis and you're like, hey, I'm going to set the rushing record today. And then he went out and did it against Cleveland. Right. You don't get to call your shot that often.
I see an old friend in chat who thinks that Tua is the greatest quarterback ever, he says. Do you have any guess who that might be?
That would be my grandson. All I can say is grandson, fins up.
Fins up.
So we have Tua looking pretty good. We mentioned there's some maneuvering here at running back. You had Mostert last week, was on the field for 73% of the snaps. Ahmed got the rest. Jeff Wilson Jr., I mentioned he's out through week 5 or until week 5 at the earliest. You've got A-Chain who's going to be back. We don't know what his role is going to be. You know what? His role in week 8, probably dramatically larger than what it's going to be tonight. But we don't know what it's going to be tonight. Could he come in and take all those Salman Ahmed snaps? Yeah, absolutely. Could they split some of those? Yes. Could it be a 60-30-10 with A-Chain or Ahmed with the 10? Yeah, everything is in play right now. Oh, we don't know what's going to happen, but that's what makes Showdown slates fun. Among those, what is your lean? Because not to bury the lead here, Neil, but last week Raheem Mostert was pretty good. 10 for 37, two catches for another 13 yards, and he had a rushing touchdown. Pretty good. Last year in the same matchup, or in his last matchup last year in New England, he had 9 for 29, caught all 8 targets for 62 yards and had a score. So he's going to be heavily involved. Does A-Chain coming back dampen your enthusiasm?
Not really. I still think Raheem Mostert pretty clearly is going to be the top back here. It's not my favorite spot going up against this Patriots defense, so that dampens my enthusiasm more than A-Chain coming in. I think A-Chain, like all of the buzz throughout the offseason, had suggested that he's going to be more of a like gadgety kind of player. Like I don't think he has the build to ever be like a lead back. So I think he's always going to be third down kind of back. Gadgety plays, he's going to be used here and there, but I still think Raheem Mostert, I think, is still going to be the bell cow. Like you said, we don't really know, but that's what I'm anticipating going in. We'll see. I could be completely wrong, but I believe Mostert is going to continue to be the bell cow here. I still think A-Chain is going to be a fun play that's going to be coming in at fairly low ownership. But yeah, I think Mostert is still my number one here.
And that makes sense. And Ahmed is a reasonable enough price. It's price play alone. If he and A-Chain were the same price, I'd be like, just take the chance on A-Chain. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But significant discount on DraftKings. The other thing we got to mention is Alec Ingold. Now, is he really a running back? Is he a fullback? Is he a tight end? He essentially is the fullback, but he plays the tight end 2 snaps per se. Because Mike Gesicki, former Dolphin, now facing the Dolphins tonight. So I kind of count him as like we used to call that the H-back back in the day. They did more blocking than anything. But Ingold actually does get looks. He averages about a look and a half per game.
Yeah, not a ton.
Isn't nothing. Last week he was on the field for 45% of the snaps. Through 42 career games where he has seen action on offense, he has 21 carries for 30 yards and a score. So not a lot, but he has 60 targets, 45 catches, 378 yards, and 4 more touchdowns. So in 42 games, he has 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. That means he's kind of out there. He's going to get a look, two looks tonight. Could that be a handoff? Could it be a pass or two? We don't know, but he's someone we've got to mention because he actually is a part of this offense. Not a priority. Mind you,
sure,
but he does get the ball, not like Blake Bell. Blake Bell just scores touchdowns, though.
So he scores a touchdown about once every 15 games. Is he going to be owned in about once every 15 lineups? Is he going to be owned more or less than that, do you think?
I will say less than that.
What do we have him at? Let's see. I think if he's at his price tag, very live to be in the winning lineup. Let's see here. Pulling up the I was looking at a million other things, did not pull up the single game tool that I usually use as my bread and butter here. Let's see. We have, where is he? Ingold, we have for 4% ownership. So 1 in 20 lineup should have Ingold, 1 in 15 chance. So it seems like a good play. If you think that he's got about a 1, of course, that's over his career. Things change every year. So who knows if he really has about a 1 in 15 chance to score a touchdown. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but we've got him at 4% ownership at 400. I think that he's likely, if he scores a touchdown, pretty likely to be in the winning lineup. So I think Ingold in play, not like a slam dunk play, but he would be classified as a Neil's nobody. Somebody you can play in there who's not going to have a ton of ownership, who could pay off for you.
We have a bit that I was unaware of, a Neil's nobody from the Showdown Shaman. Okay.
Oh, are you not aware of Neil's nobodies?
I'm not. I try to consume as much of our content as I can, but with a full-time job and producing a boatload of content myself, I don't always get to see all of them. So.
Yeah, no. It was, last year, somebody from Twitter, I forget who it was, but somebody coined the term Neil's nobodies because every Showdown slate, I'm gonna throw out a few names that I'm like, yeah, here are the guys that it's not gonna hit that often, but it'll hit maybe a couple times per year and be lower owned than it should be relative to hitting a couple times per year. So I think that he qualifies as one of those guys who's probably gonna hit maybe once per year, maybe not even once per year, but has a possibility of hitting. So I think that he's somebody who's in play, but not a huge priority. There have been occasionally a Neil's nobody will be a guy like Paris Campbell, who was running routes on 95% of plays and still coming in at 3% ownership. And I feel more strongly about that than I do about Alec Ingold. I think that he's going to be probably owned a little bit less than he should, but not like a slam dunk play for me.
All right, so here's our comparators. So Alec Ingold, and these are DK points. The reason we focus more on DK is because they've got the multiplier and they have the more unique salary structure with the 1.5 multiplier, and they have a lower floor than FanDuel. So there's all sorts of lineup combinations. FanDuel, fun playing on the side, great for showdowns, but you're kind of tied into, you get more into the theoretical, what is the field doing actual thing, than trying to do the construction on top of it, because you're like, well, I'll play the best plays that you can fit in. Okay, that's what a lot of people are going to do. How do you make yourself slightly different to handle those outcomes? DraftKings, you got that extra variance of, or chaoticness of the salary and the multiplier on the salary. So Alec Ingold is 400. He is 2.48 DK points. Ahmed is 1,000. He is 2.56. A-Chain is 4,600. So double those two guys put together. He is looking at 3.7. So all very low. Those are median outcomes. What's going to happen? Well, one of them could catch two catches for 17 yards apiece, and all of a sudden you're looking at almost 6 points. right? It's like, well, that'd be a lot more than what we have their median projection for. Yeah, because they could get 2 targets that are basically uncatchable because their quarterback was sort of throwing it away or under pressure. Those aren't good for you, right? Hey, let's meet in the middle, median projections, right? We got to look more at outcomes. But this will help us maneuver along here to the wide receiver position, Neil, because River Craycraft, undrafted free agent out of the Washington State University, up from the Palouse. Go Cougs. My brother is an alum from Washington State.
All right.
You have Craycraft, $800, 3.42. So the interesting thing about Craycraft is he played 40% of the snaps last week. This is his second season with Miami. Braxton Berrios, the former Jet, he was on the field for 52% of the snaps. Plus, he should be handling kickoff and punt return duties, at least per the depth chart. They each had 5 targets. They each caught 3. Berrios had 42 yards. Craycraft had 40 and a touchdown. I don't think he gets another touchdown the rest of the season, but it's worth mentioning here.
Okay. 0 touchdowns the rest of the season is what you're predicting.
He's going to coog it. That's another saying. It means bad things are going to happen.
He's going to. Sure. I've never heard the term coog it.
So the Cougs, affectionately known in the state of Washington, they find unique ways to lose games in the most heartbreaking fashion possible. So we call that cooging it.
Okay.
It's been around for 50 years. It's not a new phrase, but not everybody hears things from the remote Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Up there. All right. So those guys are both in play. The other one that was kind of fun, second-year player, Eric Izukanama, he was on the field for 28% of the snaps. He was a 4th-round pick last year. I think he only played in 1 or 2 games. He did not get a target, but he did have 2 carries. Now, I didn't go figure out if it was, the quarterback slightly flipping the ball forward or slightly behind, so they ended up being carried, right? The jet sweep thing that sometimes the quarterback gets credit for a completion, sometimes he doesn't. I'm guessing it was going to be a play like that. So those guys are on the low end. And then, Neil, this is for you. Cherry on top, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Tell the people what you think.
Tyreek Hill is #good. He projects extremely well. He projects as the best player on the slate by far. Shouldn't surprise anybody. I guess it surprised me a little bit that he projects for more than 8 fantasy points better than Jalen Waddle. The separation, I know that there's some separation there. I've never thought of it as being an 8-point median projection separation between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but that's what we have here. We also have Tyreek Hill coming in very highly owned, 55% projected ownership in the util. Seems about right. What do we have in the captain? We've got Tyreek Hill in the captain, 20% projected ownership. So 75% of total lineups we are anticipating will have Tyreek Hill. It looks in the single game tool like we have him a little bit over-owned in the captain spot, where we've got him 19% projected ownership, 18% chance of being optimal, a little bit under-owned in the util, 52% projected ownership in the util, 54% chance of being optimal. So looks slightly better in the util. Probably just because his price tag is astronomical, $12,600. He is the most expensive player on the plate by a wide margin. So if you play him in the captain spot, you're going to have to get pretty ugly with the rest of your lineup, or at least 1 or 2 spots in your lineup. Whereas guys like Jalen Waddle, you can make slightly better overall lineups if you have him in the captain spot. Of course, doesn't have quite the same floor or ceiling as Tyreek Hill, but you're going to be able to make at least better looking lineups there. Tyreek Hill, number 1 player on the slate, will project better than anybody else, including the quarterbacks. Hard not to like Tyreek Hill on this slate, but Jalen Waddle coming in at somewhat lower ownership. We actually have him slightly, I'm looking at the wrong line. We actually have him slightly over-owned in both the captain and the util spot. 9% projected captain ownership, 7% chance of being optimal in the captain spot for Jalen Waddle. 33% util ownership, 32% chance of being optimal for Jalen Waddle. Pretty neutral there. Those aren't any. I'm not taking any huge stands on Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to look good. Should see a lot of targets. Really nice on a PPR site like DraftKings. Those targets are really handy for a guy like Jalen Waddle. I don't really know what else you need to say about these. People know who Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are. Really, the only thing I can say that surprised me was just that huge difference in projection. 8-point projection difference surprised me a bit. I would have anticipated like a 3 or 4 point projection difference. That was a bit of a surprise to me. So maybe that is of interest to people. Does that surprise you, EMac?
It does somewhat, and this is where I'm not building out our projections, but we do know that the way the NFL has played defenses is kind of changed a little bit. Not that cover 2 and all that, it's been around for a gazillion years. Tampa 2 is what they used to call it once upon a time, 20 plus years ago. But we're seeing more and more of that. Why is that? Well, defenses don't want to get beat over the top. So they call it a variety of names, but essentially it's the cover 2. But what that does to someone like Waddle is they were scheming specific things for him, and then they were doing different things for Tyreek Hill that in a lot of cases would leave Waddle open. It remains to be seen if they're going to continue doing those things, because Tyreek is the more dynamic receiver. If they're covering off the top, you want to get him the ball in space in a different spot. That could change the dynamic of what's going to Waddle. The other thing with Waddle is over the last 2 years, he's been wildly efficient. That could be who he is, right? You see some pitchers that are like, well, they're a real good pitcher, but they're not much for fantasy. Or, they're always outproducing their xFIP or their FIP or their xERA or whatever it is. He could just be that kind of guy, right? He runs impeccable routes, and he's good at each level of the routes. He can be a deep receiver if he needs to, but he's so good at route running that they focus with him more on the short term and the medium or short and medium range passes. But now they don't have Gesicki, right? So what do we know if that's what Waddle's going to kind of be doing? They could have Tyreek do it in a more, I don't want to call it a gadgety way, but just in a way of, they line up trips or something that would have gone to Gesicki, and now it's a bubble screen or they're running pick plays, and Tyreek catches it. He's got 2 of his receivers in front of him, and he goes around them and gets into the secondary, right? That's the kind of stuff that I don't know how we're accounting for all that. And those are the dramatic plays. Here's the other thing. Waddle played 1 less snap last week than Hill, 10 less targets.
Again, that's
function
a 1
of the game,
size.
different defenses, etc. But damn, that's a big.
Three
times the targets for Hill.
Yeah, it was certainly surprising. Caught me off guard a little bit, but that's obviously not going to be the case every game. Jalen Waddle is going to have some big games. Could happen here. I haven't seen anybody say it in chat. The old wisdom of Bill Belichick likes to stop the best player on the team, which I think has been. There's nothing really to it. People love saying it.
Every coach
does want to.
But who's successful at it? Bill Belichick.
Right. But really, I don't even think that his objective is just to make the other team make plays, and that can come down to sometimes if it's Travis Kelce, maybe he's going to try and stop Travis Kelce. But I don't think you can really make much of that narrative that's going to help you in DFS
it's
because
a stupid talking point. It's like you gotta defense wins championships. Oh, I guess defense kind of is. You gotta run the ball if you want to win, right? It's one of those, now it's just a DFS talking point. It doesn't mean a whole lot.
On the other hand,
early in the season, and it always Belichick getting more than he should out of his defense. That's all in play, right? No matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of like, when who knows whenever he's going to shake things up, right? Or like a basketball team is like, all right, we're going to let the guy score in the paint and we're going to guard their 3-point shooters, or vice versa, right? Just to muck with them and then see who makes adjustments first.
Right.
Belichick is the best in-game adjustment-making coach on the defensive side out there. There's no question about that.
For sure.
The taking away the best players, come on. The other defensive coaches haven't thought of that yet?
Yeah. They're trying. Believe me, they're all trying. Or
Chris
at least
Williams
I think they are.
Chris Williams gave 5 Stochastic YouTube memberships out there, so thank you. We appreciate that.
Williams can't stop, won't stop.
If my grandson is still in chat, how do you like that breakdown there of your team, buddy? Huh? Yeah, champ, slugger. How'd the old guy do? Slugger. That was a pretty decent breakdown.
Love it.
Let's see. I guess we should probably talk tight end, and before we turn our attention to the Patriots, key thing about tight end here: Durham Smythe on the field for every single snap last week. That's a lot of snaps.
That is a lot more than the receivers. Even he was just out there the entire
100%. Tyler Kroft was on the field twice. I guess it's Durham Smythe.
I don't know if it's pronounced Smith or Smythe, to be honest. I think it's pronounced Smith. I feel like people corrected me when I said Smythe last year, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Let's do our best Johnny Depp version of. Have you seen that? His cologne, the Savage, or however he says Sav. Oh, you should. If you guys are watching baseball games and you get stuck on that endless commercial time and time again for MLB.com TV, you know what I'm talking about. It's like I never knew when he was on 21 Jump Street back in the day, he didn't have an accent, but he's picked up an accent along the way. Him and Madonna should compare notes. So back on the task at hand, Smith saw 7 targets last week, 3 receptions, 44 yards. My guess is he'll be on the field for around 80% of the time. Last year, he was on between 50 and 70, depending on what was going on with Gesicki, and then Gesicki had most of the rest. Smith, whatever we're going to call him, Durham is the better blocker, but he's also an adequate pass catcher. Last year, though, 75 targets to the position. He only got 20 of them. So we're having oh God, I don't even want to know. We're having a new changing of the cast here, and we don't know what's going to happen.
I'm laughing at people in chat pointing out that we have flip sides of the screen, which I can assure you that I did not do that. EMac clearly dragged himself into the he just wanted to be the analyst. So EMac was like,
no, it's because I'm
the analyst now.
I look at my screen here and I can see I'm looking away from you. And I wanted chat to think I was just hanging on your every word.
That is hilarious.
Looking at this other monitor over here.
So it was intentional. I was like, how do you accidentally drag yourself over to the other side of the screen? Yeah,
no, it's much easier to do it in StreamYard. When we used to do this on OBS, don't even get me started on that one, but StreamYard much easier. But yes, I did that.
I had to go check. I saw Caveman Yoga said, "Did you guys switch sides of the screen, or am I tripping?" And I was like,
It was halftime. Of course you change sides, right? This is how it works. It's sports.
Of course, yeah. This is exactly right. Now I'm defending my end zone. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And when we get ready for overtime, there'll be another coin flip, and then we're going to determine what happens for that.
That's right. So Durham Smythe, I'll add to that conversation. He ran routes on 84% of the passing plays, which is also promising. He's not just out on the field; he's also running routes when they are dropping back. So that is very promising to see him, not just getting snap share, but also running routes. Also had 7 targets, including 1 in the red zone. A lot of promise there. Durham Smythe was not somebody who was in my radar very much in best ball, unless I had Tua, then occasionally I drafted him, but in general, not very much on my radar all offseason. And if things continue as they did week 1, yeah, I'm gonna regret that, because he was pretty involved.
Chris Williams with the super chat. Cheers to hitting 90,000 subscribers.
Did we?
Guys,
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
All right.
Very, very cool.
Thank you, Chris.
Very, very cool. We have 1,150 watching right now. We are at 130 likes. Get us up to 170 likes, and Team Free Money will drop 10 $1 head-to-head Showdown games into the DraftKings lobby. Username EMac. Get us up there. It's free money. I'm handing it out. Hopefully I change my lineups, because in my shell lineup I have the receiver that is no longer active today. So there we go. I guess we should mention defense just a little bit here, only because there are so many question marks at offensive line there for the Patriots. So I want to say that here that the Dolphins got to Herbert last week 3 times for sacks. Last year, the team was kind of in the middle of the pack with 2.4 sacks per game. They also had the second fewest takeaways, just 8 interceptions, 6 fumble recoveries. Only the Las Vegas Raiders had fewer takeaways. Patriots allowed 2 sacks last weekend, and over the prior 2 seasons, they have averaged about a 6% sack rate when Mac Jones is under center. Before I hand the baton over you to talk about Matt Jones, I'm going to talk about Caesars Sportsbook. Here's a good offer for you guys. Bet $50, get $250 in bonus bets. All you got to do is come in through our link. I'm also going to drop this into the YouTube chat, so you can do that as well. But if you come in through our link, make a $50 wager, you will immediately get a $50 bonus bet. You have 7 days to use that. And then each of the next 4 Mondays, you're going to get another $50 bonus bet. Again, you have 7 days to use that. So that is wagering $50 to get $250. So even if you lose your wager, you got 5 more chances to get that back. So check that out. That is over at at Caesars Sportsbook. Thing you're going to want to remember is in most stages, the legal age for wagering is 21 or older. And if you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Mac Jones was in the doghouse. No, I guess it was the offensive coordinator that was in the doghouse last year. There were some shouting matches there in New England. Surprising to see that. But you have Bill O'Brien. He's back. This is like a remember me. Yes, we remember you. 2011, he had this same role as the quarterback's coach, and the offensive coordinator for the Patriots. Some of the personnel has changed since then, but he is back. And oh, by the way, he had a couple stops as a head coach and a coordinator as well prior to that. But he is back calling the plays. Last week, now I'm going from I think 54 pass attempts for Mac Jones. That's about 20 more than they'd really like him to throw. That created a whole bunch of targets that went to a lot of people and can be mucking with projections. So we want to be careful with that. What are your thoughts on Mr. Mac Jones here? Former number 1 pick out of Alabama. People forget that.
I think it looks great. We actually have him pretty under. I'm looking at. I pulled up the FanDuel single game tool just to answer a question there. Looked pretty under-owned in the captain spot. Looks a little bit under-owned in both spots on DraftKings as well. It's not by any kind of huge margin, but we've got him coming in at 9.3% ownership in the captain spot on DraftKings, 9.7% chance of being optimal, 42% ownership in the util, 47% chance of being optimal. So we actually have Mac Jones looking a little bit under-owned here. Fine matchup with the Dolphins. Should be throwing it, trying to keep up with that Dolphins offense. So yeah, I like Mac Jones quite a bit. Doesn't have any real rushing upside, rushes for like less than 10 yards per game. If you're playing in the captain spot, I want to have at least 2 pass catchers in the flex. If you're playing him in the flex, I want to have at least 1 pass catcher somewhere else in your lineup, whether that be in the flex or the captain spot. But I think he's very playable. Just not playing him naked because he doesn't have any real rushing upside. So he's gonna be getting his points through the air on every passing play. He is outscored by the pass catcher. So typically you're going to want to have that at least 1 pass catcher in the line. Really the only way for a guy like Mac Jones to get there without bringing along a pass catcher is if he's really spreading the ball around a ton, and it just doesn't happen all that often. So if you have Mac Jones in your lineup, I want him paired with at least 1 Patriots pass catcher, but that could include like Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's a viable enough pass catcher that it doesn't need to be just a wide receiver or tight end necessarily. But generally that's going to be my preference.
I see what you did there. You transitioned us over to the running backs. Look at that. It's like you've hosted shows before.
I was just answering the question. I wasn't even trying, but yeah, just
you're natural.
You're
natural.
Yeah.
All right. So as Neil was saying, we got rules that we like to set up here in our optimizer. Someone was saying, EMac, you're doing a lot of talking. Well, I was talking at the beginning of the show because Neil said he hadn't set up all his rules. So I figured he would be using that time when I was hammering away to set those up.
I appreciate it.
I see. Look, I can be a friend. Look at that. So you have. Let me get to where's my Showdown slate. So a couple of the rules, I thought, hey, let's talk about this right now because that is something that is helpful. So before we get too much more into this, I wanted to call out mine. So I have the baseline rule where I play no more than 2 of the kickers and defenses as a group. So I can't get 3 of those. I can get any 2 combinations I want. So I'm like, I don't need too many of those. I will relax that from time to time in the crappy game or whatever. This isn't really one of them. I have Tua time. That is where I have Tua as the captain, and he is with at least 2 of his receivers. I did the Miami cheapies where I just put in all of their discount receivers and said, don't play more than 1 of them. Of course, that they kind of are going to be River, Craycraft, and Braxton Berrios at that point. The running backs, I said, just don't play more than 1 of A-Chain and Achman. I don't think we really have to set that rule tonight because the price for Achman, he could still get there even if he only gets half a dozen touches. Mac tonight, see what I'm doing? I like to make my group so I can identify them quickly. That is Mac Jones with at least 2 of his receivers, but I did include Ramondre Stevenson in that as well, because that I think is something that is overlooked by some gamers where it's like, well, no, if he's going to throw the ball, probably going to throw it to him. And that way you could get, a Kendrick Bourne, or I guess I better add Devontae Parker since he is active to that group. But those are the rules I've set up. And then New England. Oh, I did a different rule for New England because I don't know what's up with Jones. So I'm handling this a little bit differently than yours. I think the receivers can get there without him. So I said any pass catcher who is a captain on on New England, boost Mac Jones by 35%. I will probably get him on most of those lineups, but it may not get him in there. I didn't want to lock him in with those guys. I didn't want to lock him into that flex spot. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I don't require the quarterback if I have a pass catcher in the
Okay.
flex. I'm totally fine. So my reason is when I have the quarterback in there, I want to have pass catchers because on every passing play, the pass catcher outscores the quarterback. But the opposite isn't true. You can certainly play any pass catcher you want without the quarterback. Even in the captain spot, it wins pretty frequently. The pass catcher in the captain spot, the quarterback won't be in the flex. A lot of times there are price restraints there. So like Tua and Tyreek Hill are both like the combo is so expensive. It's very viable to have Tyreek Hill put up 40 fantasy points and be in the captain spot, but a lot of it is he gets the yardage bonus. If he get catches 11 balls for 200 yards, yeah, that's great for Mac Jones, but that's 8 fantasy points, whereas it's a million fantasy points. I didn't do the math there. That's not the accurate math, but a lot of fantasy points, a lot more for Tyreek Hill than Mac Jones. So I require pass catchers when I have the quarterback in there, but the opposite is not true for me.
All right. So let's talk about running backs for New England. We've got 25 minutes until lock. We mentioned Ramondre Stevenson. He was the one of 2 running backs that saw snaps last week. Ezekiel Elliott was the other. Stevenson on 58 or 73%. Elliott on 28 or 35%. Both had quite a few targets. Elliott got 7 targets. They were all dump offs. He had 5 catches for 14 yards. Hey, he got 7 targets. Extension of the run game. 5 for 14. Much better on full PPR than half PPR, but that was interesting. It's worth noting. Stevenson, of course, more productive. No surprise there. He caught all 6 of his passes for 64 yards. Neither one did a whole lot on the ground. Stevenson had 12 carries for 25 yards. Elliott had 7 for 29. Each had 2 red zone opportunities. Sort of how we talked about Alec Ingold, you've got Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery's been in the league about a gazillion years. Technically, he's the RB3, but I don't expect him to really do. I expect him more as a wide receiver. He is I wrote my notes. It says he's the 4th receiver and more or less the emergency running back. He's 30 years old now. I think he only played in 2 or 3 games last year when he was with the Patriots as well. So kind of went under the radar for me that he was actually there. But he had 2 catches for 9 yards and 1 carry for 7 yards. I think Parker coming back relegates him to he'll be out there maybe 20% of the snaps, but probably not seeing much of anything unless somebody gets hurt.
Devontae Parker, you're saying you're not expecting?
No, Ty Montgomery. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Ty Montgomery.
Okay, yeah. Totally the same.
I didn't know where to put him. Was he a running back? Technically, they didn't have enough running backs, so I slid him over there.
But threw him in there. Yeah, exactly.
He started at both positions during his time in the NFL. Great career at Stanford too. That was some DFS back in the day, the first go around before they got rid of college football and then they brought it back. So my offensive line notes. So Trent Brown and Saidi Sow are both out. They're both in the concussion protocol, but it looks like everybody else is going to play with Andrews, Onwenu, and Strange. Or is it Strange? Parker did not play last week, but he's suiting up tonight. Remember, Tyquan Thornton is on the injured reserve. Last week, it was Kendrick Bourne with 91 snaps, 2 6th-round rookies. Keyshawn Boutier, we're going to go with this time when I say it. He was on the field for 67% of snaps. He's inactive tonight. Demario Douglas on 41% of the snaps. And then journeyman Juju Smith-Schuster was on the field for 54% of the snaps. Bourne had 11 targets. Bourne is not going to get 11 targets today.
No, seems pretty unlikely that Bourne gets 11 targets again. It's interesting. So Juju was, drafted throughout the offseason as the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. Rumor has it that he's like 5th on the depth chart for the Patriots. Pretty interesting to see that Juju is getting buried in this Patriots depth chart. Doesn't seem like it's a great depth chart. So I don't know how that happens. It'll be interesting to see where Devontae Parker fills in. I think he's going to be, one of the starting receivers. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 or 2 most likely for the Patriots, which isn't going to do much for you on regular slates, but on a showdown slate, that is impactful. I think Kendrick Bourne is legit. Like, as you said, he's not going to get 11 targets per game. I think he is going to be a starter. I think he's going to be used a lot this year. So I do like Kendrick Bourne. He is our highest projected Patriots receiver today. He's also going to get the most ownership. We have projected for 29% ownership, more than any other Patriots receiver. We do have Booty is out, so we don't have to worry about playing Keyshawn Booty. That is nice. I guess we can just fill Parker in there for the Booty shares. Yeah, I guess Ty Montgomery is listed as a wide receiver. As you said, I think you gave a good description of who Ty Montgomery is. Kind of a hybrid player, Swiss Army knife, sort of running back, sort of receiver. Hard to really break that one down. I wanted to go back. So I had pulled up Ezekiel Elliott's stats because it was a little bit fluky, the fact that he had so many targets. So I just wanted to note that Ezekiel Elliott only ran 18 routes. So we saw 7 targets on 18 routes run last week, which, I mean, maybe that's a good indicator that he is getting open when Mac Jones needs him to. But typically you're not going to see 7 targets on just 18 routes run, whereas Ramondre Stevenson ran 34 routes and saw 6 targets. So saw fewer targets on many more routes run. I do think that Ramondre Stevenson is like pretty clearly the running back one for the Patriots. Didn't really see enough work last week. I think that we can expect more going forward from Ramondre Stevenson. So just want to note that he is still pretty clearly, I think, the running back one for the Patriots. I think that Ezekiel Elliott pretty clearly far down the list from Ramondre Stevenson in terms of expected usage this year. Did you have any other players that you wanted to talk about?
Who would you rather play between Kendrick Bourne and Stevenson on DraftKings?
I mean, they're so different players. Stevenson,
the salary kind of brings them back together.
Oh, it's Ramondre Stevenson. We've Kendrick Bourne at 7,200, Ramondre Stevenson at 9,400. Ramondre Stevenson just projects significantly better than Kendrick Bourne, and he should. I think he's going to have the usage. He is I'd say the usage is more guaranteed for Ramondre Stevenson. It is pretty interesting to see. So we have Kendrick Bourne at 29% projected ownership, Ramondre Stevenson at 35%. So at those ownerships, yeah, for me, it's pretty clearly Ramondre Stevenson is the guy that I would rather play between those two. Do you see it any differently?
I'm just building out my cash game lineup, which I dropped some more in there. You guys can go pick them up. Looks like there's about 7 left. Username EMac. I am playing Tyreek Hill at the captain. That's a lot of money. I wanted Tua in there as well. Yikes. Budget getting a little tight already. So then I said, I'm going to play Mac Jones as well because the offense is going to go through him, I think. And I couldn't get to Ramondre. So I can look at Kendrick Bourne, Berrios, and Craycraft, which is not what I wanted to do. And then I could go to Jason Sanders, Durham Smythe, or Braxton Berrios. I think that might be the way I'm going. But if you guys want to take me on Team Free Money, username EMac in the DK lobby. That's going to be my cash game line. One of those two will be my cash game lineup. Nice. Nobody else I really want to call out other than I didn't say it, but Bourne did have 2 touchdowns last week on top of all of his production. Yeah. that was a unlikely to be replicated tonight type of performance.
Yep.
Gesicki, Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's the guy you want. Gesicki's got revenge. Do you think Gesicki and Parker had a coin flip to determine who had more revenge today and who gets the touchdown against their former team?
I think they're just going to let it play out in the game. Whoever just wants it more is going to get that touchdown. They're going to find out during the game who wants it more because that's the guy who's going to get open.
The who wants it more factor. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. If you think that narratives don't matter generally, I don't think that Bill Belichick is going to design to get Mike Gesicki the ball because he used to be on the Dolphins. But I do still like Gesicki quite a bit because he is 2,400 and just 7.5% projected ownership. That looks really nice for Gesicki. So I do think that he is very much in play here, despite not really needing to factor in any kind of revenge. I think Gesicki, he only ran, he played 33 snaps last week. So pretty decent snap share for Gesicki, not as high as Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry played almost double the snaps of Gesicki, but Gesicki is basically a wide receiver out there. So just think of him as being a wide receiver who plays those snaps. When he is out there, he is going to be running routes in general. I think that both are very much in play at their projected ownership and price tags. Are you playing much Gesicki and or Hunter Henry?
I haven't hit crunch yet, but I prefer Hunter Henry, but I'm a little nervous that because he is the far better blocker, obviously, because Gesicki really doesn't play tight end. We all know that. He splits out. He runs in the slot. He's a big wide receiver. He doesn't really block. That was a huge problem in Miami, and that's why he's no longer in Miami. So, well, under their new coaching regime, but then that coaching regime is a disaster in Miami. Good. Sorry, grandson. Sorry, Nick. Sorry. Hopefully they do better. Fins up, buddy. I would prefer Henry, but I'm a little nervous with all those injuries to the offensive line tonight that he may be focusing more on blocking. But that doesn't change his red zone, and it may keep him on the field more. Right? So all we need him to do is be a blocker. Oh, I missed, and leaks out and gets a 17-yard slant, and we're happy. Right? We don't care if it was, that he had to block a whole bunch if he gets a couple of those. So that's my hand in the dirt.
Sure.
Analysis.
I think that all three of the primary tight ends are going. I think I'm going to be above weight to the field on maybe. I guess right now I have 16% Durham Smythe. The field has 19%. So I guess I'm not overweight to the field there. Gesicki is the player that I'm taking the highest stand on, but it's not because he projects better or I expect more from Gesicki. It's just 7.5% projected ownership for a 2,400. Gesicki is kind of juicy for me. I think that he's clearly got the upside to have a few catches, score some touchdowns here. He only ran routes on 37.5% of dropbacks last week, so was not out there nearly as much as Hunter Henry, but he had 3 targets. I think that he's going to have some opportunities here. It's a fine matchup against Miami. So I do like Gesicki largely just because going a little bit under-owned, I think, at a reasonable price tag.
All right. What else have we missed here? I guess we should talk about defense special teams. When Tagovailoa has been under center or in his 35 starts, Miami has 5.2% sack rate. This is a little tiny bit above league average, but not horrible. Dolphins allowed 1.4 turnovers per game last year. That's actually pretty good. New England top offense, right? They led the league with 30 takeaways. Oh, pardon me. They were second with 30 takeaways behind the Dallas Cowboys, who had 33. And the Patriots, they had 3 sacks last week. And last year, they were in the upper third of the league. So Patriots defense still pretty good. And then kickers. Jason Sanders is the Miami kicker. Decent accuracy, not much for distance. He's 4 of 12 over the last 2 seasons from beyond 50. But do you want to trust Chad Ryland, who, if he kicks a field goal tonight, Neil, it will be his first attempt in the NFL. He was a 4th-round draft pick. He did. This is how in-depth we go, Neil. He made both of his point-after touchdowns last week and had 3 touchbacks on his 4 kickoffs. I didn't have anything else to add for him to know what he's good. But Belichick burned a 4th rounder on him, so he's got to have some faith in him. But the bright lights of Sunday night, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about the kicker. You went deeper than I did looking at his kickoffs, how far his kickoffs went. I
went to the USFL stats last week for the kicker.
Man, look at you. It's a Showdown slate. He's one of the kickers. I think the kickers are almost always in play on Showdown. I think they're going to be owned in the teens. I'm going to have approximately 15% of each kicker. I don't generally take huge stands on the kickers. It's so hard to try to predict game script. Typically, I prefer the kicker on the favorite team, more likely to score more points. They're going to project a little bit better, but honestly, I don't take many huge stands on the kickers. They usually go approximately how owned they should be. I think in a little bit under owned typically in the captain spot. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I think more often than not, we actually have them slightly under owned in the tool. So that's probably a slight leak in my game that I generally try to about match the field on the kickers instead of going overweight, because you look at Jason Sanders right now in our single game tool, project for 1.8% captain ownership, 3.4% chance of being the optimal captain. I said this last Showdown show that I did. Part of the reason I think that I don't try to go above weight to the field, even though we see positive leverage there, is I think that more often than not, when Jason Sanders in the captain spot in particular is in the optimal lineup, he's in there scoring, 4 field goals, and he's not the highest scoring player on the slate, but he allows you to pay up for studs throughout your lineup. The problem there is you end up being duped 300, 400 times if you use him in the captain spot and use your full salary cap. So if I'm using a kicker or a defense in the captain spot, I typically want to be leaving salary on the table, but I don't think those are necessarily the lineups where they are optimal. So it's kind of he looks good in the captain spot in the single game tool, but because I like to play trying to avoid dupes and trying to maximize the amount of money I make when I win, I don't play a ton of kickers in the captain spot, and I don't go out of my way to play them in the util more than the field. I typically try to about match the field there.
All right, so we've got 11 minutes to go. How are you doing on your lineups? I'm running my crunches.
Well, I haven't submitted any yet, so I should probably submit
I'm running
some.
my
So
cash game.
I'm not running dead.
There. That's a starter. That's a start. So here's an interesting one. So we got a David V is using his member chat, YouTube membership chat, and he has, hey, no, I've lost it. Demario Douglas is coming up a lot in the Sims.
Yep.
What are your thoughts, or kind of the why? The why is he's $1,800 and he's projecting for about 5 points, and that's making a lot. It's making a lot of things happen.
He's projected for 7 points in last.
Are you looking at the captain, or are you looking at the regular?
The regular. Maybe it's maybe I'll refresh. Maybe it'll change. And
I'm going to refresh too, because I want to give the correct answer, and we've got 10 minutes to figure this out. Yikes! Could be.
I would get a lot less of him at 5 projected fantasy points. I think he's very in play, and
he's 4.8 now. So I would recommend refreshing the tool to make sure you have that update. That update, I don't know if he changed in that update, but there was an update 10 minutes ago.
Okay, yeah, he must. I had him at 7 fantasy points, and maybe that was just.
David said, yeah, I ran it again. He's coming down. So now look, you saw it solved in real time. He came down at just shy of 3 points. So.
Good. I mean, so now I just ran a new crunch with him at his new projection. I didn't get to any, so I'm actually going to adjust him back up a little bit, because I do want to get some Demario Douglas. He's out on the field enough. He's a viable fantasy option today. Let me pull up. He ran 33. He played 33 snaps last week, so he actually played the same number of snaps as Mike Gesicki. 41% snap share. Let me look up. I had looked it up before, but I don't remember what the number was. He ran 30 routes. So he ran routes on 54% of pass plays as well. So I think he's a very viable option here. He's not out there like every snap, but he's playing, again, 50% snap share, 54% route participation. He had 7 targets last week. So very much in play.
All righty. I'm going to start running some crunches here. Do you ever focus on like, I'm going to build some 4-0s or four-way stack? What do we call it? 4 2s or 3 3s? Or
so I don't. It's probably I probably should more than I do. Build lineups in ways that make sense for me, that look like they're lineups that could get there, and I've had some success with it in showdowns. But probably like there are edges out there that I'm not taking advantage of, and that is one of them. Like I know I've read some of Cody Main's stuff about like when you use a defense in your lineup, they should be part of the team that you have more of. So like if you have a 4-2, that you want the defense to be on the 4 side as opposed to the 2 side, which is obviously it's kind of intuitive that way also. But no, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about whether I'm playing 5-1s, 4-2s, that type of stuff. It kind of works itself out in Fantasy Cruncher for me. I just try to make sure my lineups are correlated. And when I look at them, they look like this lineup looks like I can envision ways that this lineup wins. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the this team versus that team construction. I spend more time thinking about the players themselves within the team's correlations.
And that makes pretty good sense there. So I'm getting a little bit of oddities here, and so back to the Demario Douglas thing. You can tell by putting your thumb just even slightly on things can have dramatic impacts, right? Like, oh my gosh, we basically took away a 17-yard catch from him, and now he's not appearing in half your lineups, right?
Exactly.
But what if we really should have taken away that 17-yard catch and given him a 30-yard catch? He should be in your lineups even more, right? That's the dramatic difference that we can look at, which is terrifying, but also interesting.
It is the slightest projection change.
Yeah. Speaking of terrifying, who are you worried you do not have enough of?
Kendrick Bourne. I'm coming in underweight to the field. Currently, I have 16%. Kendrick Bourne.
I got 18% captain Kendrick Bourne, baby.
My God. Okay, you're taking a stand there on Kendrick Bourne. I'm taking, I guess a different stand. And it's not even that I like he played plenty last week. It's just the ownership. I'm spreading it out a little bit more, hoping that the field gets it wrong. I'm playing a little bit more than the field of Devontae Parker, for example, hoping that he slots into a bigger role than we're anticipating. yeah, it's not something that I'm really going out of my way to be underweight to the field on Kendrick Bourne, but as I'm trying to get to more of the guys that the field is not playing enough, I get less to some of the chalkier players, and that's kind of how it goes for me on basically every showdown slate. I end up, a little bit underweight to the field on the chalky plays, and then I spread out to some of the lesser owned plays.
I just realized I was running my lineups without randomness on them. Good thing I have a whole bunch of rules set and did some very heavy player caps, because otherwise I would be getting very assembly line like lineups. I got an awful lot of Juju Smith-Schuster. Yikes! That's
Patriots wide receiver 5, Juju Smith-Schuster. That is.
I gotta take him out of my lineups, or out of the future ones I'm building. We've got 5 minutes to go here. I'm about ready to upload.
You telling me I should upload some lineups? Probably.
You probably should here. So I'm going to read quickly. I got I basically at the field with the Patriots defense. I'm half with the Dolphins on DK. The kickers, I'm essentially mirroring them, but I do have Sanders. I believe he's in my cash game lineup, so I'm actually going to be proportionally heavier on that. Durham Smythe, Hunter Henry, and Gesicki all coming in at around 15% for me. Tyreek Hill, 63%. That is my biggest stand. Jalen Waddle's at 26%. Bourne at 28%. Juju, I'm going to take out because I have him at 28%. So I'll probably make another 20 lineups here real quick. And then I got Mostert and Ramondre Stevenson around 25 to 30%. Tagovailoa and Mac Jones, I only have about 50% of each. So let's change
so
this.
My biggest stand, I just looked at my lineups, says I am going to submit this for the first time. I'm about to submit some lineups. My biggest stand right now is I'm way over the field on Devin A-Chain, who I'm going to be mad at myself if he ends up coming in at 20% ownership, which I think is very live, that he actually ends up coming in a lot higher than anticipated. But I've thought that before. Like, he's kind of a, he's a rookie that people loved in best ball, for example. So sometimes I expect those guys to get a little bit steamed up and end up higher owned than we have them. But it didn't happen with Rashee Rice, for example. So maybe it's not going to happen on Devin A-Chain. To me, it's just he's coming in at 4% ownership, is what we have projected. I currently have 28% A-Chain in the util. I think that the 4% ownership is a little bit low for his range of outcomes. Within his range of outcomes is not playing much at all. And I think within his range of outcomes is he could come in and split carries with Raheem. I don't think that is out of the realm of possibilities for Devin A-Chain. He was a highly drafted rookie, really skilled rookie, good runner and involved in the passing game. So I'm just, kind of betting on the unknown. As I embrace the chaos a little bit, particularly even more so in Showdown than regular slates. And A-Chain I think that's a chaotic play. A 4,600 rookie running back making his debut at 4% ownership, who has draft capital. There are reasons to believe he might be good. So to me, yeah, it's just taking a stand, embracing some chaos with Devin A-Chain.
Quick super chat. I'm going to type the answer on FanDuel. Smith and Parker or A-Chain and Bourne? I think it's the first one, right?
Smith and Parker or A-Chain and Bourne. Yeah, I think it's probably the first one. Neil was a chipmunk for a second. What happened?
I think you were buffering. So make sure your lineups have uploaded.
Yeah, they have.
Okay. Mine are in as well, so I'm good. I'm happy. This is a pretty good show here. Did we miss anything important? We'll get better at this, a little more smooth. We talked about the owner's box and how you got $5. You put in $10, and then when you come in through our link, they'll match it. They'll match that $10. They'll match you up to $500 with your first deposit. But you got to put in 10. If you do a minimum of 10, they're going to give you a $5 lightning ticket real quick. And also real quick, they're going to give you a $5 contest ticket. And then you will also get 1 week of stochastic sims, the max package. It's $59.95 value. As soon as you sign up, give us 24 to 48 hours, and you'll get the promo code that will allow you to add that package. If you have any trouble, you can reach out at sport@stochastic.com. We talked about Caesars. Bet $50, get 5 $50 free bets coming through our link. That's a really good one. Make a $50 wager. They will immediately give you another $50 ticket. And then each of the next 4 Mondays, you're going to get another $50 ticket. You have 7 days to use each one of those individually. And then the lineup generator. So we have that, of course, for football in the stand. It's a standalone package. This year, you can get it for $15, $14.95 for a week. You also get Discord with that, but you get that for the 3 Showdown slates, and then you get that for the main slates as well. Pretty good deal there. So if you're just looking to build some lineups, you don't want to deal with bringing in projections and uploading them and ownership projections and leverage and all that, this does it all for you. You get that. You can build out the lineups you want. We'll make some time to look at that the next game, but we do have it, the features they added towards the end of last year, where you can create different game scripts for yourself. You know, one team outscores projections and one goes under. They both go above, they both go below, etc. You can pick from about 6 different game scenarios there. And again, just by putting a little bit of your thumb on the scale there, you can have dramatically different outcomes. And that's where it's like, well, but what if I want to play for a 44-28 game? It's like, well, that's going to happen in about 3% of these games. So that's going to be a very unique thing. Lock in a player you like or 2, because that's the only way you're going to be able to replicate that. Otherwise, you're just getting confetti. And that's not always what you want, even though that's what it feels like wins on Showdown sometimes. Sometimes. All right, Showdown Shaman. Was that pretty good?
That was pretty good. I think we lost most of the audience while you were doing a read after lock, but I haven't actually checked if that's true. I just
those were recapping them. Now people can go take action. I had
that's
people
true.
say, Good point. Remember, was telling people to set an alarm to go write in the reward or the 5-star review and set an alarm to go do this. And then I had people like asking me 2 days later, oh, what was that deal you were talking about? It was gone. Nice. It was gone. Our best deals happened week 1. They're gone now.
Yep. Take advantage of them while you can.
With that, we're going to get on out of here. You can follow Neil on X at PlayerQDFS. I am at EMac DFS. And of course, it is stochastic_COM. Hit that like button on the way out, and good luck, gamers.